Good morning, everyone. I've had certain requests in the past to do Mahāsatipaṭṭhāna Sutta in English. So, because of that, I thought about doing it today. I'll try to cover all the four Satipatthana, that is the Kaya Anupassana, contemplation or being aware of the body, and we'll see what the body is all about. Vedana Anupassana, being aware of the feelings and what those feelings could be. Then Chittanupassana. Chitta, in rough sense, is translated in English as mind, but it is much beyond mind, so we can use another nearest is the thought process. And Dhammanupassana is translated in English as mental contents, so we can keep it to be mental contents. So, what is the intent of this Mahāsatipaṭṭhāna Sutta? In the language of Pali, or in as with all Indian languages, including Sinhala, Maha means big or high, and Sati is to do with being aware of what is happening at that point in time. Patthana is establishing. Sutta can be called as Su plus Atta. Atta is self and Su is good. One that can bring goodness to oneself by practicing. So the Buddha Dhamma is all about practicing. And the Mahāsatipaṭṭhāna Sutta is also about establishing that practice and making oneself very much aware of what is happening at that point in time. So let's go and understand what it really means. So the first thing what it talks about is there are many paths one can take, whereas this one is a guaranteed path. Why guaranteed? Because it will establish the awareness through observation of the body, of the feeling, of the thought process, and its contents. So the person, if he was doing something bad, as in the Dasa Akusala Dhamma, or rather in English, if we were to put it, 10 immoral deeds. If a person were to observe his thoughts, his speech, and his mind, then he would correct himself because there is an awareness. Now we need to understand what this awareness is all about, because awareness is a word which is used considerably in all the books, in all the literature, covered in the Eastern tradition, also in the Western tradition. So many things have been said about awareness. The awareness, as an example, if I were to give you, there is a room and it is dark and nobody knows what is inside. So we switch on the light, and when it falls on inside the room, it lights the room. does not care about what is there inside the room. There can be a table, there can be a chair, there can be a pillow, there can be a bed, there can be computer, there can be cupboards, there can be books, there can be cockroaches, there can be lizards. The room might be clean, the room might not be clean. Whatever it is, the contents. This light is not identifying itself to say that I'm clean, I'm dirty, I am the book, I am the table, I am the chair, or anything that like that. It just lights up without being judgmental, without being biased. So when the word used sati, it means that awareness, without prejudice, without having to take sides, without having to judge anything at all, just observation. Again, this word observation has many connotation and meaning. So I need to be careful when I use this word of awareness and observation. And there's a third word which talks about focus. And there's a fourth word called concentration. And there's a fifth word called as mindfulness. They all are not the same, but they are used interchangeably. And sometimes it helps, sometimes it confuses. So if we were to look at observation, we are observing one phenomenon, that is the table or the chair. Whereas if we take about awareness, we are looking at the whole, not at a part. So when we say observe the breath, we are leaving the whole and just looking at the part. When we say focus the attention in that wherever you need to put in a more micro way, it's called focus. And attention is to stay there. And mindfulness is about focusing that attention and staying with that object for a considerable for a considerable time or considerable moment of time. That establishes concentration. But what we are here to do is to develop awareness, not concentration. Now that's the difference. It's like lighting up a room and not worrying over what is there in the room. Whereas if I start worrying about why this table is here and why this chair is here, why the room is dirty, why this is this way and that way, that means I'm observing and I'm now focusing my attention on those parts, which will give me two sides. One, what is there is good. Another, what is not there, it should have been there. So creates this attraction and repulsion called as raga and dvesha. The room should be this way or that way is the moha, the delusion. So what Buddha is asking us to do is to be aware or develop that awareness without being judgmental, without being prejudiced, without taking any sides, and just watch. Don't have to do anything except for watching. This watchfulness is what brings in that awareness. Just like the light is watching the room, it doesn't do anything except for watching for what really it is. So now we have to understand what is this body. The Pali word kaya, 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 actually, if I were to translate in English, becomes a collection than calling it as a body. So basically, we can see four things as a collection. Number one, it has a collection of the body parts, like in the case of the hairs of the head, the hairs of the body, the skin, the flesh and the bones, liver, intestine, and all that. Then this collection is consistently fed by the food we eat in the morning, in the afternoon, and in the evening. This is the physical food. Whether somebody is vegan, somebody is vegetarian, somebody is a non-vegetarian, it doesn't really matter. It's just the food. So we can say it's a collection of the food into various body parts. This is the first part of it. And the second part of it is the breathing. It's another process. There is no person there, it's just breathing. There's an in breath, there's an out breath. And this is the bridge between the body, the collection, and the mind, the chitta. Then there is two subtle things there. One subtle thing is the five, or rather six senses. The eye, which will know by itself. It is already having the intelligence to pick up sight when connected. Then there is ear, and when it gets connected, it will pick up the sound. Then there is nose, when connected, will pick up the smell. Then the skin, which will then pick up the touch. Then the tongue, which will pick up the taste. Then we have this instrument called as the mind, which will then pick up the mental contents and the thoughts. Then there is another subtle one of the five aggregates: the rupa, form; vedana, feeling; sanya, perception; sankhara, preparation; vijnana, consciousness, which brings this whole experience. So when we take a collection, it collects these four. And so when a person is contemplating on the body, he will, on this collection, basically he's also contemplating consistently on the chitta, that is the, we can say, its mind or the thought processes. And because of the kaya and the chitta, there is a feeling. So vedana, feeling. And then there is a mental content, which is nothing but the Dhamma anupassana or the Dhamma, which are the mental contents. So as soon as we start contemplating of being aware. We get awareness of all the four. So even though the starting point is the kaya, the collection, we are collecting all these four. So then he says, how should one establish this awareness? So there is a technical word called as atapi in Pali. So tapa means heat. Atapi means not getting heated up. So we generally get heated up with attraction to something and repulsion to something. Let's say I'm attracted to an object. Let's say my computer is slowing down and I would like to buy another computer. Now, this is not heat generated there because I'm just replacing this computer with another computer because this is slowed down, so I need to buy another one. It has got diminished, it has got depreciated over time. Whereas I already have a computer, then I find somebody having a better computer. Now I curse myself for having bought this computer, not waited for some time or asked my friend about it. Now I want to buy that computer. Now that is called tapa, heat. So I'm getting heated up in the mind. And that shows up on the body as anger or frustration or anxiety or worry or something like that. Similarly, sampajano is being aware of what is happening in the mind and what emotions they are going to bring. That means without observation, the attention goes somewhere, but with observation, the attention is established on that particular object which I want to buy or do something. So I'm trying to see what is happening in my body and in my mind and what feeling it is going to bring in because of this mental content. That's what I'm doing. So if we really see in all the four satipatthana, the words used are the same. And then this person does not long for too many things, nor he regrets or creates a sorrow inside his mind. So this is going to establish for all the four. That is, being aware of what's happening in the collection, then the feeling that is generated because of the thought process, then the contents of the mind. And being aware means I'm acknowledging that at this point in time, this is coming. Or at this point in time, it is not coming. At this point in time, I'm burning with anger. Or at this point in time, I'm not burning with anger. That's being aware. So if I'm aware of everything, as I'm talking, if I'm aware of my talk, just like the light fills up the room, this consciousness I'm bringing in and making the awareness take over instead of the usual mental fabrication to do something or not to do something. There's no bias. As an example, what if this video I'm doing is not seen by others? Does that bring me anxiety? Or if it is going to be looked by thousands and thousands of people, would that bring me happiness? Then I'm not being aware because there is an expectation. This expectation causes misery or anxiety or worry because I want it to work the way it should work. That means I'm not dedicating myself. Just like if you take another example, the sun, if you were to shine, does not care whether the clouds are there or not there. It just shines equally on all the surfaces. Doesn't make a distinction. Similarly, when we look at the breath, in breath and out breath, we're not making any distinction. We're just becoming aware of the breath, how it is going in, how it is going out, and then investigating who is the person who is breathing. Is there a self which is breathing? And we find out breathing is a process, a beautiful process. Just like I might be getting old day by day. It's a process. It's not that I am wishing it to get old or I am wishing it to get young. It's just a process. Similarly, after eating the food, after gulping the food, nothing anybody can do. It's just a process. The digestion is a process. Excretion is a process. Respiration is a process. Circulation of the blood is a process. Or rather, circulation of the food is a process. Walking is a process. Talking is a process. So every given action is a process. There is no I and mine and myself being there. It is just the way it is. It's combination of these four elements. The earth element, which is having solidity as in smoothness and hardness. The liquid element as in flowing and binding. The fire element or the heat element having coldness and hotness. The wind or the air element having to do with movement and upward and downward, expansion and contraction. And the space element, which covers up anything that it can find. So we take a space, the house takes a space, the road takes a space, and the earth takes a space, and everything is within the space. It's enclosed. And finally, we have this vijnana, the consciousness, is another element which comes and goes along with the mind. So, if you have read the Dhatu Vibhanga Sutta, analysis of elements, Buddha explains there, and just digressed a little to say how this works. So basically, we're getting aware of what's happening in the breath, because we presume that the breath is myself. I am breathing long, I'm breathing short, I can hold the breath. I'm like a swimmer. He thinks that he is swimming. Yes, conventionally true. But if you were to go to the actual truth, there is nobody there to swim. The conditions are favorable for him to swim. If the conditions were to be unfavorable, he cannot swim. So we always take ourselves to be real, as in the sense of this name and form. That means there is a name. I'm a swimmer, or I'm an engineer, I'm a doctor, I'm a lawyer, something like that. And I'm supposed to be doing these functions. It's just a process. And we have a job description, but it's taken to be real. Similarly, husband becomes real, the wife becomes real, the children becomes real. My name itself becomes real. And that's not true. So basically, we need to observe. Observation, I explained earlier what's the meaning of observation. So taking one of it is an observation. So we are taken one of it, which is the breath, to observe and be aware. That is only not me who is breathing, it's every given animal and every given human being breathes. It's a process. It's not that I am breathing and this breathing is mine. So I'm watching this. So as I watch what happens, I can now see that there's a feeling and there is something getting bound or binded between the body and the breath. This body is a collection of food and different parts of the bodies, like the hair or the skin or the mouth, of the heart and lungs and liver and intestine and all of that. Along with it, the breath carries oxygen to all of these parts. And the fun part is that the body parts knows how much oxygen to take. They don't seek my permission. So when they don't seek my permission, I cannot say this is mine. Where is that I'm breathing for myself? The mind does not have to breathe. So also I don't have to breathe. It's a breathing is a process. What if there was this some poisonous gas coming into the room? Did I ask for it? No. Can I stop breathing? No. I might stop for some time using my will, so-called will, to do it. But sooner or later, the body does what it should do, because mind cannot hold anything for long. It has to give up. So basically, I can see now it's a body and mind coordination. It's not I who is coordinating between the body and the mind. So this is because of awareness. So when I become aware of this, I no longer can associate with the body and the mind. So what I'm doing now is that I'm actually focusing on the body, that is the collection, and looking at the feeling I'm getting. So now I'm feeling peaceful as I see between this and that. Otherwise, I can see at that point in time, if I say that I'm breathing long and breathing short, what it means is that I is getting into breathing all the time. So there's a belief system that so the feeling of I comes into existence. So it can bring in three kind of feeling. One is a sukha vedana, which is the pleasurable feeling, the painful feeling, dukkha vedana, and adukha sukha vedana, which is a neutral feeling. If I were to observe the way it is to be observed on the breath and become aware of the breath, awareness like in the light in the room, I'm just observing how it is going and how it is coming, not associating as myself and me, then something phenomenal is going to happen. The identity is lost. So I become neutral. So I have not become prejudiced to the breath. I'm not trying to evaluate, this is my breath, and then compare another person and say, okay, if I can breathe this way, that person breathes that way, which is good. my way of breathing is good or his or her way of breathing is good. If I don't do this, then it's a calm abiding. So pasam bhayakaya sankharam asasi sameti sikkati. So now I'm learning to have a very calming the body process. Which body process? The breathing. Because it's a process. All the bodily process, that is the different organs which are working, my heart is becoming slower, the blood pressure is reducing. It's not that anybody wants to increase their blood pressure. Nobody has any control over it, and because it is anicca. And the more I try, the worse it gets. So it's dukkha. Then it is essenceless. What I did yesterday, what I did day before yesterday, what I did 1 month ago, 2 months ago, it's of no consequence. What am I doing now after a moment is of no consequence. So this is anatta, essenceless. So I can really investigate and see that there is no I in the breath, there is no self in the breath. It is the process. So when I can see this way, what is the advantage? The advantage here is that the feeling is calm, the thought process are totally empty. There is nothing which is irritating me any longer. Earlier it was irritating because of this compulsive disorder I have as I and mine. Now I don't have. It seems very calm, abiding, because now I'm aware what is the state of my mind. As in the case of thoughts, as in the case of the mental contents. The mental content right now is to explain this phenomenon. That's what is my mental content. Now, I can apply this. I can apply this when I am standing, or being aware that I'm standing. I'm not observing the standing. I'm being aware that I'm standing, just like the light in the room. Doesn't matter. Just standing. Then I'm just sitting. There's only sitting. This I am sitting is just for conventional purpose. Everybody sits. So no special of me to sit. There's no special of me to stand. Then awareness of lying down. It's lying down. That's it. It's just like not not owning that standing down, standing up or sitting or lying down. It's being aware. That is to know what is happening. Now we might get a question. Okay, I know it already, but the mind knows it. It's a thought process. When we stop naming it, then you're aware. When we name something, then we are not aware. What is this naming? This naming is personalization of I am sitting, I am standing, I am doing this, I am doing that. So he says that do these three. When you're moving, I'm moving, just aware of movement. Not that there is a person or a self there to move. It's movement, no matter who does it. Then standing, then sitting, then lying down. So, four postures: moving up and down, standing, sitting, and sleeping or lying down. Now, he can also do that with various other things. Like what? He can bring in what is the state of the feeling, what is the state of the chitta, thought process, and the mental content when going forward, going backward. Now he's coming into this real awareness. What is mean real and aware? Real is in the sense of what is arising in his thoughts, in his feeling, in the content. So if there is a lust which is coming as he is going forward or going backward, meaning this is a raga, attraction, repulsion, and delusion. Raga, dvesha, moha. Any one of this will change the awareness. It will become more personalized. So it can be with bending, stretching, looking ahead, looking around, in wearing clothes, in organizing his bowl for eating or plate to eat, and the act of eating, the feeding into the stomach. He is getting aware, just aware. So when we're practicing this awareness, one have to really look at who is watching. It's like somebody watching. That's awareness. So you are watching your whole body, everything it does. So in eating, in drinking, in chewing, in tasting, in passing stools and urine, in going, in standing, in sitting, in sleeping, in walking, and talking, basically every kind of activity, including talking and being in silent. What's the use of it? Well, you're creating this awareness, satipatthana, establishing that awareness in all the four: kaya, the collection, and then the feeling, the vedana, the thought process, that is the chitta, then the mental content, which is the Dhamma. So once we establish like this, it's an easy process. Now, another way to do it, let's say we find difficulty in this, so now I can bring my awareness to each part of the body. They are so independent, they don't ask my permission. The liver does not ask the spleen doesn't ask the liver, doesn't ask the intestine, it doesn't. So each body part functions as a process center. If there is a problem, it sends pain signals, or rather, it sends signals. And the only way to inform is through pain. I did not create the pain. I did not create the process. And in fact, I don't even know how the heart and lungs and liver and intestine and these parts are actually functioning, how the digestion is happening. So we can divide this as a voluntary process and involuntary process, but actually we have no control over both of them, neither voluntary nor involuntary. It's just a process. We are naming it, but actually we have no idea how it functions. So the only way we are trying to arrive at the solution is to fix it up. So the digestion is not happening. We take in some medication for the digestion to get rectified. There is no I who is correcting it. It's the medication which is doing that. So, how does this whole function work? Process works. The chitta, the consciousness, is also called as chitta, and the vijnana is also called as the consciousness. So, chitta becomes vijnana in 9 stages. So, we don't have to go there, but sometimes it is used interchangeably, and most of the time it is used as vijnana. The vijnana is a consciousness, and that arises along with the mind, and the mind has feelings and perception. And since the consciousness is aware of the feeling, either as painful, pleasurable, and neutral, it brings up this body feeling and mental feeling to address. If the process is working fine, most of the time it is, we are unaware of any pain anywhere in the body part. If the process is not working, then there is pain in the body part. Meaning, in that collection, there is a pain. Similarly, if whatever is expected is got in the mind as pleasure, it is felt in the mind as pleasure. It's just pleasure. Whoever gets it, it's just pleasure. It's not my pleasure. Even though we use the word my pleasure, it's my pleasure, but it's just pleasure. Or it is pain. It's painful. But that gets translated in the body as a body pleasurable feeling and a body painful feeling. So we can use medicine to correct that, but through meditation of becoming aware, we can cure the mental illness, which is having this attachment to, by way of thinking, holding on to the pleasure, which also is in Pali called as asada, which is pleasure. So we seek pleasure in the 5 senses. So what are we trying to do is to observe these 5 senses, and we look at the hindrances due to this establishment of 5 senses with the 5 sense objects, and see how this connection happens in the Dhammanupassana and Chittanupassana, and then see its effect as a feeling on the Vedananupassana, and that gets translated in the body as Kaya-anupassana. So by becoming aware on the Kaya, we are also becoming aware of the other 3. They cannot be done separately, even though it looks in 4 different ways for clarity purposes, but for practical purposes, we will be observing all the 4 of them. So each of the body part, basically, it's not me and mine. They are just process. Anything can happen in the process, just like factory, just like software, just like anything we do in this world. There is a process which is working, and in case the process fails, the equipment comes to an end. So the objective of looking at this, each one of these, and also the next one called as the elements on the dhatu or the elements, is that we can also contemplate on the Patavi dhatu being soft and hard, so we can touch our skin, bones, and we can see that there's hardness, softness. If we touch the bone, it's hard. If we touch the skin, the fleshy places, it is soft. Then if we bring our hands together, we can see the warmth, so there is heat. And in some places it is cold. I never did this hot and cold myself. It's there. So there's no I in hot and cold. There is no I in soft and hard. And there is no I in this movement. I'm moving my fingers, I'm moving my body part, I'm moving my mouth to speak, I'm winking. They're just happening. It's not that I am doing it. Then finally, the watery element means that if it's hot outside, I'm going to sweat. This sweating is going to happen. It doesn't matter whether I sweat or somebody sweats. Sweat is a sweat. I did not bring it. So by being aware of this, we come out of the first thing called as Sakkaya Ditthi, believing that I am in this body, or I am the body, or this is my body. And that brings out the second hindrance or a fetter called as Visiki Icha, doubt, skeptical doubt whether this works or doesn't work, whether I am really the body or not the body, whether I'm inside the body, whether I die or the body dies or they both die together. These kind of things will come. So this is Visiki Icha. The third one is called as Sila Bitta Paramasa, meaning belief in rites and ritual, thinking that I need to retain this body and the mind as myself. So this self view is what creates rebirth cycle. So basically we are doing this Mahāsatipaṭṭhāna, or establishing awareness of this great awareness of what really is happening in the collection, also called as body, the Vedana, which is feelings, and then the Chitta, which is the mental thoughts, and the Dhammanupassana is the mental contents. So we are becoming aware of what is happening, and we can become aware through observation of a particular thing and see whether I exist in that. So that gives me a reflection. It's like retrospecting of what really is happening after it has happened. And that leads to introspection and helping in release. So Satipatthana Sutta, if we go in real detail, would make one achieve more than a Sotapanna state, because we are able to see that I don't exist. It is just the process. That leads up to another question. If it's just a process, then is there anything called as free will? Yes. So let's understand what is that we are trying to see. The body cannot exist without the mind. So mind is a precursor. So there is a Dhammapada verse which talks about Mano Pubbangama Dhamma. Mano Setta Manomaya. That is, mind is what it's all about. Without mind, there is nothing else. So we need to look at that mind creates matter. So basically, we need to see how mind brings in the ownership of the body. So by contemplating on this, we come to know that there is this body, there is this mind, and they both arise and pass away. So there is nothing which is residing as me and myself. So once this self identity is removed, the person becomes Sotapanna. because then he has removed these three fetters. And having being aware of everything makes him lose the possession. The idea that I'm possessing this body, I'm possessing this resources, I'm possessing assets, I'm possessing the land and all that. So he will go beyond the Sotapanna, he will get into the Sakadagami or once returner. Then if he will slowly also lose the expectation of kamachanda, that is sensual pleasure, and vyapada, which is nothing but feeling uneasy, irritated, angry, all of those goes forever. So having removed all the five fetters, the person becomes an anagami or a non-returner. So at the end of this discourse on Satipatthāna Sutta, Buddha says that a person can definitely become a non-returner if he practices with full awareness all the time in what is happening on the body parts or the collection, what is happening in the chitta, that is the thought process, what feeling is he getting because of the chitta and the collection, and what are the mental contents of this chitta, which is the Dhamma. So when we start seeing all of these four, a person can definitely become an anagami or non-returner. I could go and explain about all these four, but I am not doing that because it's we're already almost an hour into this. I would wait for any comments or any further information you want on that, and then we can go further detail into it. So with that, I'm ending the session for today, and do let me know what you feel about this. Thank you.